David, we're gathered here at Yale for a consultation on joy in adolescence, and you've delivered to us a lovely paper where you really make the argument that you have to understand the concept of joy, the experience of joy, through the lens of an understanding of beauty. What is the relationship in your mind between beauty and joy?
There's a long answer to that, and I'm going to try to avoid the long answer. But there is a sense in which, especially if you look at the biblical record, joy seems to be part of an ecology, part of a response to the glory of God, in however that's manifested. And so, sometimes it is in response to, in the Psalms, to the beauty and goodness of creation. Sometimes it is in response to the mighty acts of God, deliverance in the Old Testament. Sometimes it is, in the New Testament, it is, of course, disguised in the scandal of the cross, of the crucifixion. But nevertheless, the disciples, those who had eyes to see, could see in the cross the glory of God, God's self-giving love. And so I would argue, as does Hans Urs von Balthasar more specifically, would argue that there's an analogy between glory and beauty. And modern eyes, as we read the Bible, we tend to kind of gloss over the concept of glory, and we sort of mythologize it. But Hans Urs von Balthasar he's making the point that the way of knowing that we encounter in beauty is an analogy to glory. And it is a way, when we encounter beauty, it's a detour, a little side track, but I think it's helpful. When we encounter beauty in the world, there are several things that are concomitant or caught up in, involved in how we encounter beauty. First of all, beauty is decentering. When we encounter beauty, like Csikszentmihalyi says, we become absorbed into the flow of the experience, and we are decentered. Secondly, beauty evokes a yearning for community. Elaine Scarry, in her book Beauty and Justice, argues that the folks who work at the bookstore, the gift shop at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, say that the most common thing that people buy in the bookstore is a postcard. And the most common thing they write on those postcards is, "This is so beautiful, I wish you were here." So there's an impulse to beauty that compels us to draw others alongside us as we perceive beauty. Similarly, beauty, and this is Wittgenstein, says that when the eye sees beauty, the hand wants to draw it. And we see this also in the museums of art, that it is a natural impulse. When we see something that is beautiful, we want to replicate it in some way. And so, for me, that makes sense as a way of knowing, especially as a religious way of knowing. And so I think that when we are perceiving beauty, we are perceiving it in such a way that that can only be described, or best described, as rejoicing in. We are invited into an ecology of gift giving and receiving. We are offered the gift of beauty, and then we respond in all of these different ways that I mentioned, drawing community, replicating that beauty as sort of a transaction of giving, of receiving and giving. And that, I would say, as a matter of fact, that kind of ecology of giving is part of almost every experience of joy, episode of joy that I've witnessed. We were in this room a few months ago talking about my book, Dream Care, and one of the things that I discovered with adolescence is that They use the term joy most commonly when they're describing their own discovery of the gift that some essential charism or gift or commitment. But when that gift is received by the community that supports them and surrounds them and helps them operationalize that gift, it's not only the discovering of the gift, it's also the giving of the gift. And so there's this kind of ecology of gift giving and receiving that seems to characterize the experience of joy. And so, as I was saying a moment ago, I think the opportunity for joy is everywhere if we have eyes to see. I think the paradigmatic experience of joy for Christians is the beauty of God as witnessed in the self-giving love of Jesus Christ. And as Fred Edey says in his paper, we encounter this beauty, in liturgy, and that's one of the most significant ways that we encounter beauty in and through the liturgy. But not only that, for those who have eyes to see, we encounter it in the liturgy, beyond the liturgy. We encounter it in all of the ways that God is active in healing and redeeming the world. So I would just argue that it's helpful for me when I think about joy to think about it in relationship to theological aesthetics, just the notion that the way that we perceive God's witness in the world is through beauty, and of course the paradigmatic experience of the self-giving love of God in Jesus Christ. But not only that, in the donation of all creation. So that's the connection that I see between beauty and joy.